And 3, 2, 1, go ahead, Commissioner.
Morning, welcome Thurston County Board of County Commissioners Board Work Session for Thursday, February 25th, 2021. 9:01 a.m. My name is Ty Minster, Chair of the Board. Present is Commissioner and Vice Chair Gary Edwards, as well as County Manager Ramiro Chavez and Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell. Head of our Public Defense, Patrick O'Connor, and his team are here. The topic today is the state of the Department for Public Defense. The public can attend by following along on our Thurston County YouTube channel or join by conference call at 360-252-9020, PIN 1234. Commissioner Mejia will be joining us shortly, and I'm going to ask County Manager to kind of give us an overview of what we're going to accomplish today, and then I'm sure Patrick will take it from there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, you all. This is an informational briefing, and this will give you an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the Office of Public Defense, as well as probably celebrate some of the successes and maybe talk about some of the upcoming challenges as we know it. And also, this is a series of many briefings that you will hear from many offices and departments. They will like to come before the board just to give you a perspective as to where they are. So no action is going to be asked of you today, and hopefully it will be an opportunity for you to ask questions at the end of the presentation. Patrick?
Well, thank you, Ramiro, and good morning, commissioners. Thanks for carving out the time for us this morning. I have some introductions to make. I've got my leadership team here with me this morning, and then, excuse me, I will attempt to share my screen and walk through our PowerPoint that we have prepared. So, my name is Patrick O'Connor. I'm the director of the Thurston County Public Defense Department here in Thurston County, and with me here today is my leadership team, and that includes Larry Jefferson, who's our senior defense attorney for our Superior Court team. Robin Martin, our senior defense attorney for our family and juvenile court team. Angela Collada, who is our lead supervising attorney for our district court team, and she's new to the leadership team. For you that have attended these briefings in the past, Phil Griffin has left our leadership team, is now representing juveniles. And we also have Jose Vargas, our fiscal manager, here today. So I'm going to now go ahead and share my screen, and please give me a confirmation that my slideshow is coming up from the beginning.
Yeah, you got it.
Good. Okay, great. First hurdle. You know what, as I was getting ready this morning for our presentation and staring at our mission statement, I don't think I'm have been any more proud of that statement and the work that this department has done in 2020 in realizing and advancing that mission, defending and protecting our clients' constitutional rights one person at a time. In the climate we're still in and that we experienced in 2020 was incredibly challenging. But as I reflected this morning, we have delivered not only on that mission, but also on our vision. So with that, hopefully it's changing. I think it is. Quick roadmap for what we hope to cover here today is looking back at 2020 from our department's perspective, some of the challenges that we endured, and you'll get an opportunity to hear from each one of our leaders on some of the challenges that they experienced and their teams did. Recap an overview of our budget from last year, client appointments, just our workload last year and how many clients we represented. And then touch on some of our objectives and initiatives for this year. An open forum time at the end, but I welcome any questions or comments throughout the presentation that the board may have. So starting a review of our budget. I know the board prefers this style of presentation. So taking a look at last year, obviously, sort of one of the things that you'll see as a theme for 2020 is overall criminal justice and criminal proceedings across all departments and units, at least in our office, were down and down significantly due to COVID. And as a result, we had a commensurate decrease in expenditures for a variety of reasons. And we'll touch on some of those reasons, but primarily there are less cases in the justice system, and less cases equal less cost. So a quick recap, our revised budget was just under $7 million for 2020. Our actual expenditures were a little over 94%. So the department is remitted almost $400,000 back to the general fund. And that's without any amendments. So we didn't have any amendments, as is typical with our department, given the nature of our work and the variability of our costs. But the big takeaways here are, with just less criminal cases in the justice system. Obviously, as you're well familiar, we've had months and months and months of jury trials, suspensions, and jury trials for the defense and the public defender's office come with additional costs. So with the suspension of jury trials and just less cases in the system, we realized savings in 2020. You'll see at the bottom there, we continue to track, and this is something that we've been tracking very specifically over the years, are cases that we're able to identify that we consider to be extraordinary. They're not extraordinary in the definition of the RCW for the Office of Public Defense for reimbursement, although in the past, as you know, we have made those efforts to recoup money. But these are cases that we see through our office that we know are going to have extraordinary impacts on our budget to defend. So we have a handful, 6 cases that we captured in 2020 that cost the department a little over $100,000. We have several more of those this year. We're tracking those internally, and I'll be able to report out on those. So that's a sort of a high-level look at the budget for the department in 2020. I'd ask Jose Vargas, our fiscal manager, if he has any additional comments to lift up, and if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. Jose?
Yes, thank you, Patrick. I just wanted to point out the first budget note, the revised budget includes $110,264 of CARES Act CRF allocation. And I just want to point out that the entire department did an exceptional job of keeping track of these expenditures. And we were able to submit the documentation to obtain this reimbursement from the CARES Act. So the balance, the end of the year balance also reflects this allocation and the efforts that the department made to get to document and report and request reimbursement for these funds. So.
Thank you, Jose, for lifting that up. We, as every office and department in the county had to pivot quickly in COVID and develop teleworking schedules for staff, and doing public defense in a COVID environment was incredibly challenging, to say the least. But we took every opportunity and advantage to get the equipment and that we needed and that staff needed to safely do their job, but again, to continue to do their job to deliver high quality public defense for this community. And as Jose mentioned, staff were really diligent in accounting for their time that was eligible for reimbursement. But we took advantage of that. I can say that I really appreciate the county working with us. My conversations around the state is, we were a little bit unique. There are other counties in the state that just didn't afford the same opportunities for their public defenders as we did. So I appreciate Robin and her team really reaching out and communicating with our department and working with us on getting the equipment and the other things that we needed to do our work that was eligible for CARES Fund allocation. Are there any questions or comments about this slide, or else I'll move on?
Commissioner, anything?
No questions from me.
No questions from me.
Patrick, I had a quick one. Just
Sure.
this box about the extraordinary cases. how would that have compared? Can you say anything about how that would compare to previous years? Was it lower because we, had less cases, or is 6 cases and $111,000 more than you might have expected?
It's a little more than I expected, given that at least 2 of those cases off the top of my head, and the most expensive ones at the top, did not even go to trial. So they settled just short of trial. But they were enormous costs given the nature of the cases. So I'd have to get back to you on historical data from previous years. We've had previous years where we've had aggravated murder cases and capital cases when that was still something the state could seek. So I'd have to compare those numbers. I know in the past, at least off the top of my head, we've had a couple of years where those numbers exceed the numbers on this slide.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So before I get in, there's a lot of information on this slide, and I don't intend to go over all of it. But I want to circle back to 2017, shortly or just before my appointment. But one of the things that we have put a lot of time and energy and effort into is making some decisions and changes in our business practices here in the department. And as I made some of those changes in 2018, really set a target to see the impacts in the first quarter of 2020. And some of the things that we were targeting in our goals were to really get our office in a position where we could, as best we could, given the nature of our work, accurately forecast our year-end budgets. And it's challenging, will continue to be challenging. But some of those changes include how we work with contract counsel, how we compensate contract counsel, and specifically targeting what we've had historically as an imbalance in our budget of previous years' cases and assignments and work impacting the current fiscal year. So I'll just turn your attention quickly, and then I'm happy to answer any questions, to this top right-hand panel, which panel attorneys refer to our conflict counsel associations that we have to represent clients, either A, due to a legal conflict of interest where we're unable to represent the client, or we receive so many cases in a month that we don't have enough lawyers to assign every case. But what our target has been is, in the fiscal year 2018, for example, we spent about $450,000 worth of expenses on cases and clients that we were assigned in that year. However, we spent in 2018 about $337,000, as you can see, from prior year cases. So cases that were in 2017, 2016, and so on and so forth. So our target has been, and again, my goal was in first quarter of 2020, COVID certainly, threw that out of whack a little bit. But our goal has been to drive down those prior fiscal year impact costs on the department because it creates such variability. So if we had 17, 16 and years prior to this, you would see a complete inverse of these columns, and the columns in prior fiscal year impacts were much greater, which put us in a very challenging position to come to the board in January with an accurate forecast of year-to-date expenses. So as you can see, in 19, you started to really see those us start to hit our marks and really realize some of these goals. So we went from significantly down in percentages to prior fiscal year debt, and 2020 same pattern, lower numbers because of the impacts of COVID. So I won't spend too much time on this, but I can tell you that objectively, from where I sit, the strategy has been very effective, and it relates back to even our first budget slide there, where we were in a very small percentage of our forecasted debt based on these changes. So we're just more accurately able to predict expenses for the department year to year. So I will move on from this slide unless there's any comments or questions. Okay.
No, sir.
Nope. Good to go. Go ahead, Don.
Great. So I want to take a look and just highlight last year by each department. Then I'm going to give each one of our team leads an opportunity to speak to how their year was from their unit's perspective. But we're taking a look now at our Superior Court case assignments. So these are the number of clients that were assigned by our Superior Court to the department to represent. So some of the big takeaways here are circling back to the board increasing some of our FTEs, specifically in Superior Court back in 2018. My goal throughout these next 3 slides has been for the office to make sure that we have enough resources to represent every individual in our community accused of a crime that our office has been appointed, and not have to outsource that work because we don't have enough staff. So the green lines here, this first column represents the number of cases we took by our staff attorneys, and you can see in 2018 and 2019. Sorry, the chief of the jail is trying to get a hold of me. I'm hanging up on him. So Todd, if you're listening, we started in 2018. We took about almost 1,500 cases in-house, about the same in 2019. And then obviously with the declining cases, we went down to a little over 1,000 cases. However, if you were to see the previous years, we were handling in our department many less cases than these 2018, 2019 numbers reflect. Our conflict numbers, these again, conflict of interest cases, pretty static overall. We have static numbers there. They seem to be, our percentages are pretty similar year to year. But the big target, again, for us has been to not outsource work that we could take in-house. So in 2018, we sent out 90 cases because of staffing levels that went down, and the number of filings, truthfully, down in 19 to 74, and in 2020, only 19 cases that we had to assign out due to numbers. And there's some other factors in there too. Overall, 2020 saw less cases coming through our Superior Court, less cases assigned to the department, but many challenges for the department, for the team. And I'll turn it over to Larry Jefferson, our senior defense attorney for that unit, to lift up and highlight some of those issues for everyone. Larry?
Hey, thanks, Patrick. The first thing I want to do is actually lift up Patrick O'Connor. With COVID-19, he wanted to make sure that, number one, that everybody went home, right? That everything was going to be safe. And so as that pandemic hit us, we were the ones that were here in the office until we could make sure that everything was safe. And so, we have we love everybody that we work with, and we wanted to make sure they were safe, and he did that. And I want to give him props for that. And my wife wants to give him props for that, for making sure that I came home every single night. And that's just the most important thing, because we're a family. Some things that I want to highlight is that even though you're saying, hey, we got less cases, so you were doing less work. No, we're not doing less work. It has caused significant challenges for staff. We lost a position. We had to make sure that we then got cell phones for everyone. So it did, for the attorneys, it didn't mean that your workday ended at 5 because we couldn't get into the jail anymore, or if there was an outbreak, we couldn't enter. And so you're having less contact with clients and those types of things. One of the things that we really worked on was, at one point in time, we had 37 people who were in Thurston County Jail for longer than a year. With the funding and all of the staffing increases that you allowed us to do, we were able to get that number down to 5. And that was an amazing to be able to do. We all worked together to do that. I looked today, and now we have 21 people who have been here longer than a year. And so basically everyone who came in February of last year, who had big cases, they're still here. And so we've got a disturbing trend right now of having folks in the jail for a long period of time because we haven't been able to do any of the jury trials. Those have had a significant effect. It's causing an increase in the caseload. And so that's affecting us. What's really helped is the staff that you allowed us to obtain in 2018. And one of them you're going to hear from later today. There are some attorneys that just sort of like tilt the field, and Angela is one of those attorneys. And so she's moved on from my unit, where she did excellent work, to now leading a district court. And so her influence is going to be felt in our office, possibly for generations to come. And so that's been amazing. We're really excited that we've got some new hires on the way to help us in March. And the reason that we need that help is because cases weren't filed. And as the pandemic clears, and hopefully after everyone gets their shots, then we estimate that the prosecutor's office may have 800 to 1,200 cases that they need to file. And so what I anticipate is if the current trends don't change, we're going to have to try our way through those things. And so we're going to need those new attorneys. We're going to need our I'm going to beg for you to give our DA3 position back so that we can try our way out if we can't find different solutions for those cases. And it's going to cause tremendous backlog. Right now, I think we can only proceed with 1 or 2 trials at a time. And so as COVID lifts, that's going to have some significant effects, on the court. I also, one of the challenges that we have is in regards to professional development. And so being able to send folks to trainings, wherever those trainings are around the country, we want to be able to do that because, we want to uphold the values of representing our clients the best. We want to give them the best possible service. Anyone who comes in, from the front of our office all the way to the back. I guess the last thing I want to say is that it's been really challenging only having one investigator here. It makes a difference having someone in the office who is available to talk to about cases, and we want to be able to increase our services in that area. And so those are the things that, unless you have questions, that's what I have to add. Thank you.
I have questions.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. So I just want to, first of all, recheck the stats that you gave us. So before last year, we were down to 5,000 cases that were over 365 days of people sitting in jail. Is that correct? And now we're up to 21,000?
No. That was, so previously at one time, there were 37 individuals in the Thurston County Jail that had been in jail longer than 1 year. That only 37, no thousands.
Okay, I wrote this
Okay.
down and I was like, did I hear this correctly, or am I just hearing things? Thank you.
So with the hires that we were able to do, we were able to get that down to 5 at one point in time. And so it usually hovers around maybe like 8 to 10, which is, I'd like to get it down to 5 again. And right now it's at 21, and it's going to be rising. You can see the portions. If you look at the jail roster, you can see in certain sections of the jail where it's kind of overcrowding. The problem we have is on the serious cases. We need to find ways in order to, release some of those folks. In my humble opinion, there's some of those folks who are completely safe to be released into the community right now while they wait for their trial. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to get that agreement from either a judicial officer or the prosecutor's office. But that's my belief based on my 25 years of experience with all the studies and things that we've been able to find out about. So I'm hoping that hopefully will get trials started soon, because with trials, people need finality with their cases and a realization that this is it. And so some people will make resolutions. Others will go to trial. We really need those trials to start happening in order to get that population down again. Thank you.
I have one more question, Mr. Jefferson. In relation to the difficulties that your team has faced, especially with the jail, sometime if there are outbreaks, you can't go in. Can you go a little bit more into that about the communication that you're able to have with your clients, especially in this kind of hard climate that we're in?
You know, I don't know if you've ever been represented by a lawyer before, but if you can't get in touch with that lawyer when you're calling them, your heart rate goes up, your frustration level goes up. When you're thinking that they're going to come in and, you know, they saw me on Monday, they said they were going to be here on Thursday, and they don't come in, your frustration level goes up with your attorney, no matter what job that you're doing. So someone who's in custody, they don't know what you're doing for them on a daily basis if you can't talk to them. So it really adds to the level of frustration. How you'll see that come out is people will make requests for new attorneys. And it's not because the attorneys are doing a bad job. It's just that a person gets so frustrated after, you know, being in jail for such a long period of time. Those just frustrations boil over, and sometimes you need a new counsel. So it's also very frustrating for the lawyer to want to, you've got information, you want to get in and get that information to your client, and you're not able to do so in a timely manner. It's been really, really tough. It's been really, really hard. People have been on their phones, cell phones, like late at night, which has an effect on your family, on when they're and your kids and things of that nature. So it's really had a huge impact. It's had a huge impact with us going to 50% of the people in the office and 50% of the people out of the office, the people I haven't seen, you know, physically. And there are clients that I've never met physically. That's incomprehensible, to have clients that you never met physically and sort of gone through sort of a whole case. And so the frustration levels, like anytime that there's a mention of another continuance because of a shutdown, is really, really a tough conversation. And I get a lot of phone calls when the court says we're not going to go forward on trials. So I hope I've answered your question, but it's just been very, very hard and a very difficult terrain.
Thank you.
Commissioner Edwards, anything for Larry?
No, I do not have any. Thank you.
Larry, I just wanted to ask about that backlog number you gave. You said 800 to 1,200. Is that total cases, or is that Superior Court potential cases?
That's Superior Court cases. There's been cases that haven't been filed. You will note that in years past, I've talked about the First Look program. You'll note that I didn't talk about that at all. All of those cases that we would have gotten through the prosecutor's office hasn't filed. I would say 95% of those types of cases. So that has an effect on our diversion program or pretrial services. Can't get the cases there. You know, I would like to do that. I would like to find other ways to do that. I've advocated for some different ways that we can get to that population. And, you know.
And Commissioner, we'll have a little bit more time, I think, at the end too, to have that conversation. You know, we're you know, we do have a backlog of cases and referred cases, but that's something that we have to, you know, continue to monitor. But I know I think those representations have been made to this body by the prosecutor and the court. But
okay, I'll let you keep going.
Great. I just want to make sure we have time to get through everything and leave
Yeah,
plenty of time for questions.
Let's keep our rest of our questions for the end.
Okay, thank you. So we'll pivot now to our district court numbers for the year. Again, very similar trends. The goal for the department, again, is continue to be to have enough staff here in the office to handle as many cases as we can. Really appreciate, again, the board's investment in growing this team. This team in particular has been one of our sort of under-resourced teams internally, but what we can see, or what you can see from last year, is we have really done an excellent job in being able to keep as many clients as we can. So particularly, if you look in 2018, we sent out to our contract attorneys 670 clients. We drove that number down with additional staff to 348 cases in 2019. Some of those are turnovers numbers as well that were in play. And in 2020, last year, we got that number down to 72. So again, our goal will continue to be to have enough capacity of staff here that we do not have to send clients out of the office that we could otherwise represent. So it's been a similar effective strategy. And as Larry mentioned, there's a whole host of other benefits to clients being represented by attorneys in our office. They get in-office visits. They get our professional staff support in their cases, our legal assistants, our paralegals, our in-house investigator, and of course, a quality recruited, trained and supervised attorney. So excited about this trend. Expect this trend to continue for this unit as well in 2021. And as Larry made the introduction, I'm going to turn it over to Angela Collada, our new leader for this team, to lift up, although she joined the team in the beginning of the year, give her a space here to lift up anything she'd like to. So Angela, please take it away.
Thanks, Patrick. Just as for purposes of introduction, I'm Angela Collada. I've been with Thurston County Public Defense for 3 years. I've been a public defender for 10 years. The team I manage is made up of 6 lawyers and 3 professional staff. And what we're seeing right now is very akin to what they're seeing in Superior Court. There's a significant backlog in terms of cases, but our backlog is vaguely different in the fact that it's cases waiting to go to trial, and it's even cases waiting to plead out. Because of the limits of district court and actual space available, our calendars in terms of the numbers of individuals who can be seen at any given time are extremely limited. District court is in a fully virtual area, but they have to account for the fact that any of the parties in a case could appear in person, and they're not given advance notice of that. So I believe that's the reason for the limit in terms of the calendar size. How this translates in our office is that it means our cases, their lifespan is longer. Our attorneys have the same caseload requirements, but they have their cases for longer, meaning they have more active cases at any given time. And what that means, especially given COVID and how it's affecting the populations we serve, is that there's more client need, there's more client attention required. And it just means that more hours of the day are spent talking to clients when all of the attorneys in my unit have daily court responsibilities. They don't have a single day of the week when they're not in court. And so it makes it very difficult, and they are working longer hours. They are also working usually at least 1 day a weekend. This wouldn't be possible for them to do it collectively as a team, though, had it not been for the staff that the board approved in 2019 that made us the team we are, the 6 lawyers that I do supervise. One other thing that the board did for us that I think is just exceptional, and I think we probably will need more of moving forward, is our training budgets. The attorneys that I work with are relatively inexperienced trial attorneys. I had the fortune of coming up in the Colorado State Public Defender system where the training was baked in. But in this setting, that is something that the county has to provide by providing the funding to do that. These attorneys need the skills that the rest of us have learned through years of practice. And so to have that option available for my attorneys is just invaluable. For example, one of my attorneys has signed up for a writing CLE to help improve her motions practice because she feels like that's a particular area where she could grow. Another attorney has issues with and is interested in learning forensics better. And because we work with DUIs, it's very important that she understands, the breathalyzer test. What do those results mean? When you look at a gas chromatography, which is the standard lab result for a blood draw, what do those results mean? And so the funding the board has provided has really given us the tools to make sure that these lawyers know their practice area and are giving the absolute best representation to our clients.
Thank you, Angela. We're thrilled to have Angela leading this team again, and we'll touch upon a couple more lift ups at the end of the presentation, but I want to turn now to our juvenile court led by Robin Martin, who I'll give some space here in a second. But one of the real exciting developments for the department is we have added our second juvenile criminal defense attorney to her team. But a quick overview of these numbers as well. Again, a target goal for the department has been to represent as many clients as we can. Adding that second attorney to the team this year to handle a full juvenile criminal caseload is only going to help us achieve that goal. If you look at 2018 in terms of overages, again, the number of kids, these are kids accused of crimes that we were unable to represent in our office was 268 kids. That number went down in 2019. We assigned a full-time criminal defense attorney to represent a full caseload of kids. So we dropped that number down to just under 200. And in 2020, in 2020, we made that assignment. So we went down to 197, 200 in 2019. And then with that full-time assignment in 2020, one full-time attorney representing kids, we dropped that number down to 61 cases that left the office that we couldn't represent. Again, in 2021, we have a second attorney, so we hope to zero that out. In addition, and I will lift up some of the new things that we're doing in Robin's team towards the end of the presentation. But again, this is exciting trends and meeting our goals and our objectives of that I described earlier. So with that, I want to turn over to Robin so she can lift up some of the things and challenges that her team experienced in 2020 and some of the things that they're continuing to deal with in 21. So Robin, please take it away.
Good morning, everybody. So we have experienced some similar slowdowns and backlogs in our juvenile cases, but we've also just seen a lot fewer filings with children out of school, not in the community as much, not in places where they're associating with a bunch of other young people and potentially getting into trouble. Our juvenile case filings have definitely been down. The prosecutor's office has been issuing a steady stream of backlogged cases, filing those at a rate of, their goal was 5 per week. And we have not been experiencing significant increases in time to case resolution. Also because most of our cases are bench trials. We have not had to, fortunately, deal with a suspension of trials in our family and juvenile law cases. So we've been able to continue with much of our work and resolve our cases within the same kind of timeframes that we've experienced pre-COVID. We've been really excited over the last year to have our full-time juvenile offender defense attorney, and we've just added Phil Griffith as our second. And with that, we've also been able to add new practice areas to our unit, where we are now representing folks in all of the civil cases that we hear in family and juvenile court that we're constitutionally and statutorily mandated to do. So we're, a month and a half into that, and we're excited to see how that goes. Last year, we added our full-time ITA position, and John Hansen represented about 744 clients in hearings, and that's been going really well. He's had some success in having petitions dismissed and getting our clients able to go home. Our clients have really appreciated being able to communicate directly with John and have that consistent representation. Because of COVID, however, we weren't able to go into the facilities anymore. And so there has been a great deal of difficulty in communicating with our clients in our mental health facilities. It took some time, but we're at a point now where we are generally able to have at least face-to-face communication over Zoom with our ITA clients. And then we are in the process right now of finalizing our hiring of our social services specialist, and that's going to be under my supervision. We've got final interviews coming up next week, and we're really, really looking forward to having a full-time social service specialist working for our office, helping our clients meet their other needs outside of the legal needs that our attorneys are helping them meet. And so I'm looking forward to talking to you guys again about how that person has been incorporated into our office and the good things they're able to do for our clients.
Thank you, Robin. Which is a great segue, into our next slide. So give you a visual of the department and some of these new practice areas that we're also excited about. And so I'll just briefly highlight a couple that are highlighted in red that Robin mentioned earlier. We were in a position last year to make some changes. So we still continue to represent clients in the city of Tumwater. They downsized due to COVID and to filing numbers to only needing one attorney. We did have 2 on staff. So I appreciate the support from the board and the county manager and the assistant county manager on figuring out a path forward for that position. We were able to transfer that position to Robin's team to serve another juvenile criminal caseload. But we also added in these additional representations that our office has never done before, which are highlighted. These are BECA proceedings. So these are kids that have been tagged as youth at risk or facing truancy proceedings. We're now representing those kids. So previously we sent that work out of the department at cost. We baked that into to this new position. We're really excited about the synergy there because a lot of these kids are kids we'll represent in juvenile criminal matters. So now we're representing them holistically. We're taking all their issues and providing them representation in the office. As Robin mentioned, that was our first full year of our full-time Involuntary Treatment Act attorney, and that's gone exceedingly well. However, I will say, as you probably all well know, we continue to see a rise in those cases throughout the county, and we continue to need a demand for defense counsel to meet that rise. And as Robin mentioned, we are thrilled, excited, beyond belief to have a full-time social service specialist embedded within our office. I can't tell you how invaluable this is going to be for the attorneys, but more importantly, for the clients to meet their behavioral health needs. So many of our clients need assistance in accessing services that they desperately need to stabilize their lives. So I won't spend too much time about it, but as Robin mentioned, hopefully we'll be back some point this year to give you an update on how well that's gone. We still continue to have one investigator, as you see here at the bottom, that serves all 22 lawyers, 21 because I don't practice a ton of law anymore. But despite how amazing of a staff member he is, he's just one person trying to do his best for thousands of cases. So that's still an area I think of growth for the department. I'll move on from that and try to spend these last 15, 20 minutes or so highlighting some of our objectives and initiatives. As Larry mentioned, and I appreciate the kind words, Larry, it has been incredibly challenging to do what we do in public defense, in COVID. We have to be close to our clients. We have to have face-to-face client contact at some point during a representation. We have to go into the jail to see our clients. We have to be in court. So these things are as evident now as they were in last April. As you know, we're still continuing to face all these challenges. Again, incredibly proud, and we've been very lucky to some degree that we haven't had an outbreak here in the department, but not a day goes by that I don't worry about it. And I don't worry about the safety of staff that are having to do their job. Restarting jury trials, excuse me, as has been mentioned, Superior Court is set to start next week. We have some cases that are already confirmed. District Court is set to start jury trials sometime next month. We are very, very much optimistic that it'll be done. We know it'll be done safely, but that it'll be done continuously, and that we won't have to continue to break up and suspend jury trials, because the only way we're going to start to dig ourselves out of the hole we're in the backlog of cases is to have those jury trials start again. You know, as Larry mentioned, we're facing not only what cases are not in the system, but the existing cases. And I'll be frank, that I've shared with the leadership team, I'm worried about our attorneys. I'm worried about their workload. The Washington State Bar Association has recognized the complexity that COVID has created for public defenders. In that one case pre-COVID, may have taken an attorney X amount of time to represent, but due to COVID, it's taking exponentially more time. And so we have attorneys that have, existing backlog of cases that objectively and facially are too large. And part of the challenge there has been those cases aren't resolving because of the trial suspensions. So my hope is that we'll start to reduce some of those caseloads with the restarting of trials. But realistically, it is going to take 21 and probably into 22 to start to get back to some sense of normalcy in terms of caseloads. We will be back sometime this year with some budget requests, and I'll just highlight a couple. I mean, as Larry mentioned, we'll be asking the board to consider funding our eliminated defense attorney 3 position from last year. As Larry mentioned, we have a tremendous amount of backlog felony cases and more to come. So adding that position back will really help us, again, keep that overall goal of meeting all the appointments that we can in the office with the staffing numbers we have. And something that's been folks have touched on is, part of our strategic planning for the department has continued, at least in one aspect, the professional development. So you'll probably be seeing, you will be seeing a budget ask from me to increase our training budget, which we're renaming professional development, so we can invest in our staff and meet their professional growth needs. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the opportunities that could present to our staff to make them better public defenders, frankly, and also provide some additional leadership opportunities. We have several initiatives, several of which you're very familiar with. So I want to lift up at least the EDefender Project, which is the public defender and prosecutors joint case management system. On the EDefender side for us, it has been one of the benefits to COVID, if there is any, and there have been many, I think, of which will carry on. But we have dispersed an entire team in our office to make this a reality and to design this system as we need it to work for us. We have a go live date of towards the end of July of this year to launch that project. Circling back, another real appreciative nod from me to the board for supporting this endeavor. It's going to be a game changer for our office and for me as well, as I present in the future to really be a data-driven department, which is another goal of ours, to be able to present and internally review data for performance, outcomes, and all the rest. The Thurston County Resource Center, which is another initiative that I put on that I know Commissioner Menser and the county manager have been working on. I just can't tell you how excited we are about this opportunity to have something on campus for our clients to meet their behavioral health needs. You know, I don't know where we're at on the timeline in terms of construction, but you have our full support. This was an idea presented by the Public Defender's Office back at sometime last year at our Innovative Justice. It was a bigger concept, but I'm really excited that we've been able to scale this down to something manageable, but also something that meets the needs of our clients right next door to our department. So really excited about that. We still continue to be a partner in the Arnold Ventures APPR grant sponsored by Pretrial Services that I know the board's very familiar with. We continue to obviously advocate for pretrial justice reform. We are the Public Defender's Office, and that's something that we have to be a part of. We've been a part of it, and I'm excited to see where the project takes us. I think it's important to lift up with these opportunities that we have with the APPR project that it's not so specific to just bail reform and issues that we're seeing at bail. It's a much larger scope, and it includes this other initiative of law enforcement assisted diversion. We have been active in that endeavor, playing our part, and will continue to do so until this program is realized and serving our community. So I won't get too much in the details of that program because we're out of time. Always seem to run out of time with these things, but because there's so much to talk about, and there's so many opportunities for the department to continue to serve this community that I'm excited about. But I'll end on this. And then leave some time for questions. You know, as I said at the beginning, I couldn't be more proud of the office. I couldn't be more proud of this leadership team that you're seeing here on your screen. We are, as I said in a recent all staff, I'd like to think we're the best public defender office in the state of Washington. We have to get better in some things, like we all do, but I'm just incredibly proud of, especially in this environment that we're living in now and last year, you know, how we were able to deliver such high quality public defense. And that's because of the people, the men and women that work in this office. So with that, I'll leave it open. We've got some time remaining. I'm sure most of you are double booked with an 11 o'clock virtual meeting. So I'll leave it open for questions.
Mr. Mejia, anything? We've got maybe 5 minutes for any questions you might have.
I have no questions, but just to thank you for this information, and thank you to all your team for all you're doing during this time. I know it's been a lot of adapting and trying to get your clients to adapt as well, as we've moved from in-person to virtual, and just with the longer caseloads, the longer timeline with the caseloads. So thank you to you and your team for all that you're doing.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Commissioner Edwards. Anything for this?
Yes, I just want to echo what was just said. And having been here the longest, I guess, and through a transfer of leadership in Patrick's shop, I just want to tell you and your team what a great job you're doing, and you take quite a load off of management around here. I'll just say that, your professionalism, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, great. Yeah, well, I'm always really interested in this stuff. I was a former public defender, as most of you know. I meet with Patrick every month, but it's really great to meet. And I see Larry at Innovative Justice meetings and other places, but it's great to meet and hear from Robin and Angela. I've met Robin. I don't know that I've even met Angela, so it's good to meet you guys and hear what you're up to. I'm interested in your investigation situation. I have an insight there because I worked in a public defender office that was almost exactly half the size of yours, and we had 2 in-house investigators, and they were both superhuman individuals that we loaded to the absolute maximum. I don't know how we could have lived without them. And so I know that, I know work gets done and but you end up having to contract out and different things that create inefficiencies. And I just know from my own personal experience, what we asked our in-house people to do could have never been done in a contract out situation. And if it had been, it would have cost 5 times as much with inefficiencies and loss of time because of what we were able to get. So that's something that, we definitely have to look at, because the caseload numbers that you have and the efficiencies, frankly, I think that we can get will probably be enhanced if we talk about that issue. So, Ramiro, anything for this team?
No, sir. I'd
Okay.
just like to say thank you.
And Robin Campbell's here as well. Do you have anything to ask this team, Robin?
I would just like to add that when it comes to the finance, all the work that Patrick and Jose have done to stabilize this budget and have more reliable projections just makes it so much easier to track and monitor and plan for the budget needs of this organization. And I really appreciate all of the work that went into that, and working with them is a pleasure. So thanks for all your work on that.
Jose, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to forget you. You were off my little Zoom script, so I didn't see you there. But it's good to see you and hear from you too. So thanks, everybody. With that, we are adjourned and off to another Zoom. I'm sure like everybody else.